Hija kull forma ta' violenza kemm fiżika u kemm morali li nies fil-liġi Maltija jsemmu nies pereżempju li huma jew miżżewġin jew aħwa jew relatives jew li jgħixu fl-istess dar jew hekk li ġifieri hija violenza li sseħħ fil-familji jew f'ħafna formi differenti ta' familji.
Well, I think that it's when people are abused, physically abused by someone from their family. Okay. So it is within the household.
I agree, it's kind of mainly violence. It's either two partners, I think even kids could be involved when it's domestic.
Well, I think domestic and relationship violence is when one member from the relationship overpowers and imposes his or her will on the other member.
I think that domestic or relationship violence is when a partner issues commands to another person and the other person doesn't agree with them, but they still do it just to please the other person.
Meta violenza domestika hija form ta' abbuż fiżiku jew sesswali jew inkolla psikoloġika tinvolvi kull membru tal-familja.
Okay, so domestic suggests that basically it takes place indoors or in private, somewhere where the general public can't see or do anything about it. And relationship suggests that it would be between a couple or two people or three people in a form of intimate relationship.
What I understand is it's the verbal abuse or physical abuse of a partner to another partner, or even between a mother and child.
Domestic violence is, I think, mistreatment either in a relationship, so be it in a family or just between two people.
I think it's cases in which one or both of the partners abuse one another and make them do things that are against their will, or use force or offensive things to hurt and damage the other person.
Le, ma naħsibx li huwa l-unika forma ta' violenza domestika, għax hemm verbali, emozjonali, psikoloġiku.
Like I said before, no, I don't agree. It's not just physical, it could be microaggressions, meaning saying one thing and then just leaving the other person there, so it's also a variety of different things.
Anka abbuż morali, abbuż verbali, anka psikoloġiku. F'sendem ħafna forom, kull ħaġa li inti tabbuża mill-pożizzjoni tiegħek. Jew tabbuża mill-azzjoni tiegħek u tagħmilha distruttiva. Jotta li hija bħala violenza.
No, I think that there is also verbal abuse and psychological abuse. And I don't think that these are overrated.
Ma naqbilx, naħseb sfortunatament issa daħlet drawa ta' abbuż mentali li ma jidhirx, però xorta jkun jagħti hemm u jweġġiżjed fl-opinjoni tiegħi.
No, I think that it can also be verbal abuse, psychological abuse, and any type of abuse, really.
No.
No, definitely not. Isn't there are various forms of abuse, so definitely not.
Emotional, sexually.
No, like I mentioned before, it can happen between families. Like your father, maybe you are born in a broken family, for example, because usually that's where it occurs, and they treat the child badly. But yes, between partners happens as well. And if we're talking about relationships, I think it's usually the more long-term partners. It doesn't start instantly.
Mhux bil-fors. Fl-opinjoni tiegħi anke tkun ilek fejn għafjen ġimagħtejn, xahar, inti skont persuna jaf tiġi dipendenti fuq l-oħra wara ċertu żmien u l-persuna l-oħra ovvjament tispiċċa tieħu vantaġġ.
Li naħseb id-definizzjoni tal-vjolenza domestika għadna tkun aktar usa, speċjalment tal-familji bejn eżempju ġenituri u tfal, bejn aħwa wkoll li baqgħu jgħixu flimkien. F'sitwazzjoni fejn eżempju bejn aħwa fuq suċċessjoni. Hemm ħafna vjolenzi differenti li tkun naqa' hija mentalità antikwata li bejn iż-żewġejn u koppji biss.
I think it has a tendency of happening more in the long-term relationships because people get used to each other too much and they start taking each other for granted. But it might really happen even in short-term relationships.
I don't actually. You can see some traits of violence even during, like when they're dating or something. Maybe things get worse by time, but till it starts from the beginning.
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Lindsay. Yeah, that's exactly the case. So.
No, definitely not. As in, I think when you're a long-term partner or married couple, you have more chance to solve your problems. So it will definitely happen with short-term couples or new girlfriend-boyfriend situations. However, obviously there are a lot of abuse happening in between. So it's a mixture of both.
No, I think it can happen within your relationships, even within a family itself.
Well, it depends. It's not always like the woman or always the man. It depends on the character of the person who happens to be being violated. Really. Can be kids, can be anyone in the relationship who's being affected.
Ġeneralment tkun il-mara, tifhem, imma issa aktar qed jiżdiedu l-ispeċi anke l-irġiel u hekk it-tfal ukoll, eżatt.
Għax spiċċaw jdaħlu fil-problemi ta' bejn, spiċċaw jitlu tfal ukoll.
Typically, what we hear in the news, for example, it's women. But I think there are some instances where the male is being violated, and we just haven't heard of it that much.
I don't think that there's actually a norm. It can happen to anyone.
Fejn taħseb li tħares lejn l-istatistiċi storiċi u soċjoloġiċi ħafna drabi minħabba il-nuclear family kif kienet fis-sistema patriarkali dejjem il-mara kienet tkun il-vittma, però ma ħsibx għadu l-istess illum. Qed naraw s-soċjetà tinbidel, għandek koppji tal-istess sess, ġifieri ma jkollokx aktar sistema ta' mara u raġel, jkollok sistemi differenti. Allura jiddependi min f'kull koppja, f'kull familja, f'kull setup huwa l-iktar forsi fiżikament jew mentalment dajjef. Dak huwa jkun iktar suscettibbli għal li jkun vittma.
I think anyone can be the victim of domestic violence. It doesn't have to be one particular person or at least one group of people.
I think it's the most vulnerable person, unfortunately. It's more common to hear that the women get violated, but even some men could be.
Well, I think it is an issue. I mean, a relationship is a relationship, whether it's same sex or different sex. It's a relationship still bases its facts on basic principles, so yes, it is an issue.
I think it is, but we don't hear about it so much because obviously it's not as much of a focus.
Yeah, I agree with her. Most probably it happens, but we're not well aware of this.
Naħseb. Dinamiċi jkunu differenti f'kwalunkwe koppja, allura kollok min ikollu iktar dominanti u iktar submissiv. U min jabbuża minn ġeneralizzazzjoni ma tistax tagħmel, stessin bejn.
Yes, so what makes them so different from different sex couples?
I have no experience with it, however I do think that it could be an issue as much as it could be an issue with any other couple.
Iva, naħseb xorta l-istess.
Ma jinvolvix billi tkun gay jew lesbjana jew straight jew le, da jista' jseħħ bejn koppji differenti.
Naħseb jotta li jom ukoll. Ma narax raġuni li għalfejn dan ma jsirx jekk isir f'koppji bħal koppji heterosexual.
I haven't heard that many stories about it, but I think it can be. If someone, it's naturally, it's a natural thing. If someone's aggressive, it can happen both ways, even if he's straight or if he's gay.
Fimni, l-ewwel nisma' tibta regoli. Imma mhux violenza domestika imma skont l-ammont ta' eċċessività speċi wkoll.
I think it depends on the extent to what what the person is demanding. So if you just listen, I prefer if you wear something more conservative for this occasion, it's one thing. But if he's demanding or she's demanding that you have to wear strictly this clothing item, then it can maybe evolve into some type of domestic violence. Yes.
I think anything that makes what person be not what he wants to be and what he is would really, I think this was classified as a type of abuse. So I won't suppose violence, but it is abuse.
Mhux neċessarjament jak eżempju, però ifhem, kieku jiena naħseb ma naċċettax taf kif, però it could lead to that in the long run. Up to that point ma naħsebx li hija eżempju ta' violenza domestika però.
Jiddependi relazzjoni li hemm bejn il-koppji, jekk huma tnejn li huma konservattivi fil-mod kif jaħsbu l-affarijiet, forsi ma jkunx jikkostitwixxi violenza domestika, però jekk għandek persuna li qabel kien differenti u inti tibqa' tbidlu apposta kollox billi tagħmel dawn ir-regoli, naħseb hija ammonta bħala violenza. Diffiċli għax fl-istess ħin għandek regola tapplika l kulħadd il-liġi insomma. U tinterferixxi bil-ħajja privata bejn tnejn min-nies. Fejn huwa l-limit, fejn għandek tidħol, fejn qed tħalliha xi ħaġa privata. Tkun sensittiv ħafna għal ħaġa ta' bejniethom.
If he gives you valid reasons and you agree with him or her in the long run, then no. But if he imposes his decisions on you, then yes, it will.
Well, it depends. I think that if the partner is really adamant about it and there's no other way you can get around it, then yes, it is going to be a type of abuse. But if it's just, styling tips or just advice, no.
Personally, yes, I consider it as violence. I think you're removing the kind of the freedom a person has, so yeah, it's kind of an abuse and violence.
Mm-hmm. I don't think it's violence per se, however it might be a side effect of violence, or at least leading up to it. I mean, it's the sign of a very possessive relationship, so there might be that.